There's always something wild going on in the world of wrestling, and today is no different, including Jim Ross's response to fans criticizing his work, what restored Charlotte's confidence in the ring, Chris Jericho's no jobbing in Japan policy, Corey Graves' big guest, why Enzo thinks the WWE is like a mob, All Elite Wrestling has announced a special episode of Dynamite, and more. JR responds to his critics. Jim Ross's return to the broadcast booth has received a warm welcome by some fans, but not everyone is enamored with good old JR's play-by-play in AEW. Recently, Jim Ross responded to these critics during an episode of his podcast, Grillin' JR. You know, there's a young audience that's criticizing my work, and I don't have a problem with anybody criticizing my work. Everybody's opinion's as good as the next guy, Ross began before comparing himself to Gordon Soley, the legendary NWA play-by-play announcer. When you work your ass off for 40 effing years, in the business that you love and you're still trying to do it, it's a little disheartening when people that don't know your work or know how hard it is to do this work are cutting and coring you. It's just not a fun thing. But I've got to get past that. I'm too damn old to worry about it, and I can only do my best. If you don't like my work, folks, don't listen to it. That's all I can tell you. Move to goddamn television. Hell, I don't know what you're gonna say, cause I ain't quitting, I ain't retiring, and I'm not gonna leave my spot. And I think most people agree that's the way to do it. Despite the criticism, Ross and fellow broadcaster Tony Schiavone have been praised for their work on AEW Dynamite. Ross also credits AEW's Tony Khan with saving his life. Tony Khan saved my life, I believe that, because I like getting up now and going somewhere. Every Tuesday morning, I'm up at 4 or 5 o'clock at the latest to catch a plane, first flight out. Boom, I'm going to the city to have our production meeting on Tuesday night and then our show on Wednesday. So I got a direction now and a destination. Kairi Sane and Io Shirai offered jobs in Japan. Dave Meltzer recently noted that Kairi Sane's contract may be up in early 2020 and there's possible interest on her part in returning to Japan. However, Pro Sports Extra's Brad Shepard disagrees, tweeting, "According to a source in WWE, Kairi Sane does not currently want to leave the company, contrary to recent speculation by Dave Meltzer." However, a recent story suggests there is considerable interest in hiring Sane and NXT performer Io Shirai. Recently, Takaki Kidani, the director of Bushiroad, the entertainment company that owns New Japan Pro Wrestling, discussed hiring the two talented women. "I will prepare the stage, so I'd like you to come back. Of course, multiple years with the WWE, it is a story after the contract is over, but I would like to show you coming back as an option. We are considering making a return offer. No jobbing in Japan for Le Champion." Speaking of New Japan Pro Wrestling, current AEW World Heavyweight Champion Chris Jericho is scheduled to wrestle at the promotion's big Wrestle Kingdom event in January. According to Ringside News' Felix Upton, the chance of Jericho losing may be slim and none. Chris Jericho will wrestle Hiroshi Tanahashi on the second night of Wrestle Kingdom next year. The match will be a high-caliber contest, but don't expect Y2J to lose if he's still holding AEW's top title. During Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer explained that if Chris Jericho is still AEW World Champion when Wrestle Kingdom rolls around, that he won't be losing. He said that New Japan understands that and would want to respect another company's champion. How Charlotte got her groove back. Charlotte Flair's relationship with fellow WWE superstar Andrade has apparently helped her in and out of the ring. During a recent appearance on India's News 18, the Queen commented, "You know, what's so special is having someone with you that understands what you do. His grandfather is a wrestler, his dad was a wrestler, his uncles are wrestlers. Being in the industry, liking the same things, understanding the pressure, understanding the travel. But the one thing that he's been able to do, I felt like when we met, I was kind of going through a rougher time in my career. I just ended the rivalry with Becky, and I felt like I had lost that confidence in the ring, and that's one thing that he's been able to do is bring out a different level of confidence inside the ring," she said. "We both try to teach each other things. I mean, he knows everything there is to know about wrestling, but little nuances or camera work or, just being a star. I mean, he is a star in his own right, but we just come from such different backgrounds, but at the same time, it's very much similar. So we're able to help each other that way." Enzo Amore, why WWE is like the mob. Enzo Amore, one of the realest guys in the room, was definitely keeping it real when he spoke to Hannibal TV about his abrupt exit from WWE. When asked if he's contemplated suing the WWE after being released, Amore had an interesting take on who the WWE is like. Absolutely not have I ever considered a lawsuit. You have to understand the gratitude that I have for the opportunity I was given, and when you join the mob, you don't talk about the mob, man. I did nothing wrong. The world knows it, the police report says it. You fired me based on a tweet, so here's me firing back. Now, I'm not gonna sit down and be no bitch about my brand and what it is that I bring to the table as a pro wrestler. At the same time, I'll play the game. It's a game, man. It's pro wrestling. It's a work. It's not real life. The Road Dogg talks NXT versus AEW. WWE Hall of Famer The Road Dogg, aka Brian Armstrong, has been busy teaching students at the WWE Performance Center about crafting characters and cutting promos. The second-generation superstar has also been following the Wednesday Night War and talked with Hannibal TV about whether Raw and SmackDown stars will continue showing up in NXT. We use the phrase a lot that it's a marathon and not a sprint. We use the top tier, I don't want to say main roster talent, because now we're definitely a third brand and equivalent, as you can see with Survivor Series. Because of Survivor Series, that's why you're seeing some of the top talent come down and participate in the NXT live television tapings. However, I do think it would be cool if some of the mainstays from NXT, the Shinsuke Nakamuras, the Finn Balor like we're doing now, just come down for a stint. But I don't think it's anything about trying to compete. I think our objective, and again, our mantra, is slow and steady will win the race. We'll keep doing the best television shows that we can do 52 weeks a year. Hopefully USA Network will re-up after that and we'll have an opportunity to continue on. There's a lot of top talent in NXT that people haven't witnessed yet. The Adam Coles of the world, the Undisputed Era as a whole, Velveteen Dream, Matt Riddle, a lot of guys, Keith Lee. The list goes on and on. A lot of guys who are really good at what they do and the world just hasn't had a chance to see them yet, so I think we're going to stick with our roster because we're pretty proud of it. The Young Bucks talk about listening to the fans. Anyone who has followed the development of Cody and the Young Bucks are aware of their keen insight into the importance of utilizing social media. Recently, the Bucks talked with the Herald Bulletin about AEW and how important it is to utilize social media to gauge the fans' reactions. Going on Twitter and seeing who's blowing up, who's making waves, whose GIFs are circulating, Matt said. It's the easiest time ever to have something go viral, so we keep our eyes on everything. That's how a lot of these stars are being made these days, is through social media. You can't ignore that stuff in wrestling, you have to go with it, Matt said. We want to be different than other wrestling companies. We want to listen to our audience and give them what they actually want. Nick and Matt Jackson reflected on how they discovered the tag team Private Party via the internet. A lot of these guys, we thought to ourselves, they're so good, but nobody knows about them, so let's give them a platform where they can get the exposure that they need, Matt said. I watched a 60-second YouTube clip and I said, yep, we're signing them. It's fun to see that the television product is working because nobody knew these guys a couple of months ago. And now, Private Party, a graphic of them can appear on the big screen and the entire arena goes nuts. So it's proof in the pudding. It's proof it's working and we just have to keep going. The Bucks also put over AEW's light schedule, using fellow wrestler Pac as an example. For example, Pac, he just did the 8-9 days in a row tour, but he's going to have this week off, Nick said. He'll have 7 to 10 days off actually, and that's unheard of in wrestling. To even get a week off is unheard of in wrestling. Big guest appearing on Corey Graves' After the Bell podcast. Corey Graves recently announced a big guest for his new podcast, tweeting, last I checked, at Randy Orton, at Rhea Ripley WWE, and maybe this dude you've heard of, at Steve Austin BSR. All Elite Wrestling has announced a special episode of Dynamite titled Bash at the Beach. All Elite Wrestling surprised more than a few people when it announced the AEW Dynamite scheduled for Wednesday, January 15th in Miami, Florida has gotten just a little bit bigger now as the event will officially be titled Bash at the Beach. Tickets go on sale this Friday, November 22nd at noon Eastern for AEW's Bash at the Beach. WCW fans likely recall the promotion ran an annual pay-per-view titled Bash at the Beach, including the historic 1996 edition when Hulk Hogan was revealed as the third member of the New World Order. Now, AEW is looking to incorporate Chris Jericho's sold-out wrestling cruise into AEW Dynamite. According to a release posted at PW Insider, AEW today announced Bash at the Beach, an unprecedented 9-day experience for superfans that features 2 Dynamite shows, a cruise aboard Chris Jericho's tricked-out party ship, and non-stop entertainment in between. The adventure begins on Wednesday, January 15, when AEW Dynamite takes over the Watsco Center at the University of Miami for a Bash at the Beach-themed episode, and continues with Chris Jericho's Rockin' Wrestling Rager at Sea, sailing round trip from Miami to Nassau, Bahamas on January 20 through 24. High-octane bouts with the biggest names from AEW will be filmed from Jericho's sold-out Norwegian Pearl ship, including the January 22nd episode of Dynamite on TNT. The history-making event will be bubbling with exclusive opportunities to meet AEW's star-studded roster, as well as non-stop wrestling, rock and roll, live podcasts, paranormal explorations, talent-hosted activities, autograph sessions, parties, and more. Well guys, there you have it, the dirt on AEW's Bash at the Beach episode of Dynamite. What do you think of this? Be sure to leave your comments and don't forget to subscribe to our channel, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you next time for some more wrestling content.